The Passion of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Luke. Then the whole assembly rose and led Jesus off to Pilate, and they accused him, saying, "We found this man subverting our nation. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be Christ, a king." So Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Yes, it is as you say," Jesus replied. Then Pilate called the chief priests and the people, and he said, "I find no basis for a charge against this man." But they insisted, "He stirs up the people all over Judea with his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here." On hearing this, Pilate asked if the man was a Galilean. When he learned that Jesus was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him off to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at the time. When Herod saw Jesus, he was greatly pleased because he had for a long time been wanting to see him. From what he heard, he hoped to see him perform some miracle. He plied Jesus with many questions, but he gave him no answers. The chief priest and the teachers of the law stood there vehemently accusing him. Then Herod and his soldiers ridiculed and mocked him. They dressed him in an elegant robe and sent him back to Pilate. That day, Herod and Pilate became friends. Before this, they'd been enemies. Then Pilate called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people, and he said to them, "You brought me this man as one who was inciting the people to rebellion. I've examined him in your presence and find no basis for the charges against him. Neither is Herod, who has sent him back to us. As you can see, this man has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore, I will have him punished and then release him." But with one voice, they shouted, "Away with this man! Release Barabbas to us!" Barabbas had been imprisoned for insurrection in the city and for murder. Wanting to release Jesus instead, Pilate appealed to them again, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" For a third time, Pilate spoke to them. "Why? What crime has he committed? I find in this man no grounds for the death penalty. Therefore, I will have him punished and then release him." But they insistently demanded that he be crucified, and their shouts prevailed. So Pilate released the man who had been imprisoned for insurrection and murder, the one they asked for, and surrendered Jesus to their will. As the soldiers led Jesus out, they seized Simon from Cyrene and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. A large crowd of people began to follow him, including women who mourned and wailed for him. Jesus turned to them and said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep for yourselves and for your children. For the time is coming when they will say, 'Blessed are the barren, the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed.' Then they will say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' For if men do these things while the tree is green, what will happen when it is dry?" 2 criminals were also led out with him to be executed. Then they came to the place called the Skull. And they crucified him, along with the 2 criminals, one on his right, the other on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they divided his clothes amongst them by casting lots. The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, "He saved others. Let him save himself if he's the Christ of God, the chosen one." The soldiers also came up and mocked him. They offered him wine vinegar to drink and said, "Why don't you save yourself, King of the Jews?" There was a sign above him that said, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. "Aren't you the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other criminal rebuked him. "Don't you fear God," he said, "since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said to Jesus, "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus said to him, "I tell you the truth, this very day you will be with me in paradise." It was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour, for the sun stopped shining, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. Then Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And when he had said this, he breathed his last. The word of the Lord.